Hey everyone. Oh my goodness. This is commitment because right now Sanjeev is in Orlando, Florida, and he is on his iPhone, and I'm here close to the clinic, and we are bringing to you the battle to end Alzheimer's, or the battle to prevent Alzheimer's. And today we're going to be talking about the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario applauding the first step towards approved treatment for Alzheimer's disease in Canada. And I also want to hear from Sanjeev about where you're at and what you're doing. So Sanjeev, this is submission of Leqembi to Health Canada. It marks its first national and sets concrete deadlines to prepare for introduction of Alzheimer's disease treatments. Tell me about this.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you again. I'm so happy that we're doing this. I
I know.
know I'm in Orlando here at the A4M meeting, Anti-Aging Academy of Medicine meeting, and
Oh,
it's an amazing conference. And today, the theme for this conference is all about inflammation and how that's the root cause of aging. So obviously, we'll probably do some videos on that later on. But yeah, you sent me this link, and I think we may have mentioned some previous talks about the new medications that have come out in the U.S. That are working on the amyloid hypothesis, the idea that amyloid buildup in the brain is the cause of Alzheimer's. And so
okay.
this medication called lecanemab is also known as Leqembi as the trade name. The This medication is an antibody, a monoclonal antibody that attaches to the soluble fibers of amyloid and prevents the amyloid from forming those plaques. So if you
Got
can
it.
just kind of think about how this medicine's working, because we think that these plaques are what are causing the neurons to degenerate and die and dysfunction. And this medication basically, before the amyloid becomes a plaque, binds to it and prevents it from forming that plaque. That's as best as I can understand the
Yeah.
pathophysiology of this medication. And so it's been around in the U.S. for some time. I mean, I think a year or so,
Yep.
and it's based on a study where they did a randomized double-blind trial of 1,800 people.
Okay.
And what they did was that they so about 850 people in each group that they randomized, and they followed them for 18 months.
Okay.
They were able to find out that the people who were on the medication, the lecanemab, had a slight improvement in their cognition. So it wasn't a huge impact. It was a slight improvement.
But I think improvement
And
is improvement, right? Like improvement's
that
improvement.
that's and I think that's what people are saying. Like, yeah, it's not a cure for Alzheimer's at this stage, but 18 months you had some improvement. Like basically, the people didn't progress as bad as the people who were on placebo. So
Got it.
their progression of Alzheimer's was slower. It didn't stop, but I think even that's a win for people because it could be that the benefits get better as time goes on after 18 months because they didn't really look at past 18 months.
Right.
The other thing is that, the other concern may be that there was some swelling in the brain, and I think 3 people died of bleeds in the brain. So there was some concern that the medication is having some swelling in the brain, which is could be dangerous. But most of those people who had this swelling didn't have any symptoms from it, and it seemed to not be an impact for them. Third thing about this medication, it costs about $26,000 a year, and you need to do this IV infusion every 2 weeks. So it's not something that you can just do at your house, and
Mm-hmm.
and you need to have the finances, or it has to be covered. And I don't know in Ontario whether it will be covered or not for everyone, but
Well, let me
you need to meet certain criteria.
Yeah, let me just share a little bit of the snippet of this news wire. It's a press release that not everybody might
Sure.
have access to. The Alzheimer's Society of Ontario
Perfect.
joins over 282,000 Ontarians living with dementia in welcoming yesterday's submission of Leqembi, as you said. And this treatment for Alzheimer's disease was already approved in the US. So you mentioned that. But here's the thing, if approved, Leqembi would be Canada's first treatment for Alzheimer's disease and not just its symptoms. So it's literally the first treatment. And as I read further along, they're saying that United States already has 2 treatments. We're getting one. But for anybody who's got a family member with Alzheimer's or dementia, and they have that chance of any kind of improvement, I think that that is a miracle for them, right? Like you've treated, do you see patients and with dementia and treat patients?
Yeah, we've always told people, I think this is where this whole video series is about, that generally when we, people hear that they have Alzheimer's or they know someone has Alzheimer's, it's like a death sentence. It means that there's no hope. And what we're trying to do in this video series, tell people that there is hope with prevention. And now we have treatment that's even better. Like that's another reason why people should go and, if they notice anyone they love has these symptoms or they themselves, they should go and seek diagnosis, because now there is treatment and there's something that can be done. So that's what is really exciting. Hey, this is the first step in these new medications. The other medication that was approved in the US also works on amyloid. It actually works on removing amyloid from the brain. But this one actually prevents the amyloid from forming plaques. So I think it might be even a better medication in that way. And what the important thing with all these medications is that they're going to work best on people who don't have full-out disease.
Okay.
They're going to work better on people who have just mild symptoms, or ideally, if we can catch people before they even have symptoms, that might be the best person this is going to work on. And so that's why I don't think these trials, maybe they weren't studying the right people, because they were studying people who already had mild Alzheimer's or cognitive impairment. But maybe we need to catch people who are at risk. So like you have amyloid deposits or you have some amyloid, but you don't have symptoms yet. This may be the medication for you.
Well, to your point, and further down the article, it did say to be most effective, along with the 2 other treatments for Alzheimer's disease, must be administered early in disease progression, which is why if you're watching this for the first time, I recommend you go back to our previous videos, because we did touch on the importance of testing, what you're testing for, how you can have access for it. So I think it's so great that it's now, look, as we're coming along, even in this video series, new things are coming and we want to be the first to give you the news on what's happening in science and Alzheimer's, in research, and what's available to the public, because Sanjeev is a longevity expert and he's pre-diagnosed for that or predisposed to it. And on top of that, he's a medical doctor. So I can't think of a better combination to get, the source for Alzheimer's. What else can you share about what you're learning, where you're at right now?
Yeah, so I've been, thinking about what other further tests I can do to find out what type of risk I'm at, and I'm hoping to get a PET scan to look at how much amyloid deposits are there. And another thing that people can consider is a lumbar puncture is the only other way. So it's a lumbar puncture to look at amyloid buildup in this spinal fluid, or it's a SPECT scan or a PET scan. So these are right now the ways to determine how much amyloid there is in the brain.
So are you saying where you're at, there is a possibility for you to get that PET scan? And just for our purposes and those who are unaware, what exactly is a PET scan?
It's a type of imaging. It's like not an X-ray, not a CT scan, not an MRI. It's called a PET scan, positron emission tomography. And so it's a type of scan will produce a picture of the brain and how it functions, and it's a very specific type of scan that seems to
Is
be
that
useful
hard
for
to
the.
access in Canada, or you're
Yeah,
there and yeah.
I think you might be able to meet certain criteria if you have if you're a certain age and have certain symptoms, it might be covered.
Okay.
Otherwise, people can pay out of their pocket if they are concerned and have a high risk and they don't meet the criteria. But again, now it's out there. There's possibilities that one could actually go and get diagnosed, you know, early, and then hopefully be consider whether or not they want to be on the medication. So that's what's pretty exciting.
That's great. We will post a link to this particular article. And it also talks a little bit about the Alzheimer Society of Ontario. We'll post a link to also what we're talking about here. And before we move on, I did find an article that I said I did want to talk about in a future episode about certain supplements that can help sharpen memory and boost cognition. I will go through them super quickly, but I know that you want to dive a little bit deeper. So these 5 must-have ingredients for good memory supplements is alpha GPC, Huperzine A. Am I saying that right? Or
that's right, Huperzine A.
Huperzine
Exactly,
A,
yeah.
lion's mane mushroom. I've seen that in a coffee I drank recently. Bacopa monieri. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. And then ginkgo biloba.
Yes.
So what can you share about that? I know we're not going to deep dive right now, but would you agree to that list?
I really, yeah. I mean, I think they sound like good ones because I am aware of these, but I haven't looked at the research. So I do want to just be fair to the audience that I want to go back and look at the research and tell them about what this is based on.
Right.
But all 5 of these have been used. People are talking about them as, improving brain function. Lion's mane, particularly, appears to have some, enhancing properties for neurons and neurogenesis. But again, I want to go back to the science for you and speak on each one of these. So,
well, I love that because
all I can tell you is that yes, people are
yeah.
using it, but I want to understand what's the science behind it. And that's
yes, and for those who are looking for supplements to help brain cognition and whatnot, you can go to peakhuman.ca under the supplements that we have researched, that we have approved, that we highly recommend, that Sanjeev is taking and many of his patients to help improve cognition. We'll post that link as well. And the warning sign, and I love that, Sanjeev, you said, first of all, let me do the research, because lack of clinical studies and just all these articles about if it's good or bad, we are committed to being the resource for you of what's going to help you and help your family as it comes to dementia, brain function, Alzheimer's disease, and even longevity in our other series. And then lastly, the unproven ingredients, right? Thankfully, he said, yeah, they sound good, but we're going to come back to you with better research and an approved list from Dr. Sanjeev about that. So anything else that you want to share?
No, I'm looking forward to giving you more updates from this conference I'm attending, and we'll chat soon.
Awesome. Perfect. I'm looking forward to seeing you back. Thanks, everyone. Make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and we thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.